death toll in one Maryland town continues to rise as 343 people were just found dead and emergency crews can't keep up with the calls that continue to pour in. President Trump had warned of what was coming to prevent these deaths, and now it's time to take urgent action as he's about to announce a shocking message to Americans. With all the focus recently being on Chicago and the immense amount of shooting deaths there are in the war zone every day, a bigger issue has presented itself just a few states away in Maryland. The Baltimore Medical Examiner has confirmed that a whopping 343 people have died as of December 28 from the same alarming cause for just this one small part of the tiny state. However, the issue is widespread across the country and only getting worse, which is why Donald Trump wants to do something about it now. It's now clear that worse than Chicago, Baltimore has become more of a war zone than a place to call home, and we have Democrats to thank for that, who are intent on not stopping this bloodshed. In fact, they seem to want more of it, and President Trump is prepared to beat them at their own game. Breitbart reports, Baltimore has an assault weapons ban, a high-capacity magazine ban, a handgun purchaser fingerprint requirement, and a record rate of killings per capita. The previous record was 55.35 homicides per 100,000 residents. The Baltimore Sun reports that 2017 set a new record rate of 55.8. As of December 28, Baltimore had witnessed 343 homicides in 2017. That is slightly short of the record 344 witnessed in 2015. Yet the homicide rate is higher this year because the city has fewer residents. The highest number of homicides was 353, which was the total of deaths in 1995. But even then, the rate of killings per capita was lower because the city had some 100,000 more residents. Ironically, the increased homicide rate comes just 4 years after the adoption of draconian gun controls via the Firearms Safety Act of 2013. That act banned assault weapons and high-capacity magazines and required handgun purchases to submit fingerprints to the Maryland State Police. According to the Trace, a gun control journalism outlet, the criminal use of high-capacity magazines jumped in 2013 and continued to climb in 2014, 2015, and 2016. In other words, stringent gun control has been a failure in Baltimore from the moment it was implemented, and now the impotency of gun control shows itself in a record rate of killings per capita. While most people were their holiday, Baltimore thugs were preparing for a bloodbath, knowing that nobody would stop them at their killing game. The city's Democrat mayor has an equally unrealistic, deadly, and ineffective solution for it as Chicago. Rather than learning from their ongoing problem, it seems that Baltimore is hell-bent on repeating and spreading the lethal issue. On July 12, 2017, Breitbart News reported that Baltimore's murder rate was more than twice as high as the rate in Chicago. WJZ reported that murders were occurring so frequently in Baltimore that the number of murders in the city was higher than the number in Philadelphia, even though Philadelphia had 2.5 times the population. Moreover, Baltimore was witnessing more murders than New York City. Although NYC exceeds Baltimore in size nearly 14 times over, according to Breitbart, Baltimore Mayor Catherine Pugh, D., responded to the skyrocketing murder rate by pushing for more gun control. Democrats use these senseless deaths to push their agenda in the wrong direction, and President Trump is wise to this. He's about to reinvigorate his pro-Second Amendment push with this unfortunate reality that's plaguing a second major metropolitan city in our nation. Almost as shocking as the overwhelming crime rate in the city, is the fact that in 90% of these cases, where victims were either injured or killed, not a single suspect has been charged. Perhaps this stat came out at the end of Barack Obama's presidency, after allowing thugs to run free, and excuse it as what disgruntled millennials do when suffering from poverty. What's interesting to note is that not a single one of these shootings this month involved a police officer, which is a big statistical change since Trump has been in office. Now, things could be getting a lot worse for these thugs and better for the city suffering under their wrath, since our president has vowed to combat the gangster and thug issue that runs rampant in inner cities across the country. He's one of the first to take a bold stance against it, proving he's not afraid of these criminals. And it's only a matter of time before he publicly addresses this issue again after his executive orders on the matter and sending ATF, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms agents in to help. Among his flurry of important executive orders to get the country back on track were 3 crucial ones targeting gangs, drugs, and crimes against cops. According to CNBC, the executive orders will focus on gang members, drug dealers, drug cartels, and crimes against law enforcement officers, Bustle reported. During Jeff Sessions' formal ceremony after his confirmation, President Trump announced his plans for these 3 executive orders, which give more authority to law enforcement. If anyone is doing more for the black community and proving Black Lives Matter than Barack Obama, it's his successor, President Trump. Looking at Chicago alone, 88% of the victims are black and were all ignored while Obama was in office, pushing and supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. Trump will single-handedly save countless black lives by cracking down on these thugs who kill other people, many of whom are random and just in the wrong place at the wrong time in the war zone now. In 2 major U.S. cities,